So, all right, 49 through 51. This was all dealing with parallel lines. So on 49, we have a diagram here, and they want to know what these angles are. Now, they don't tell us that they're parallel at this point in time, so we just have two lines cut by a transversal. So what we're looking at is the properties that would tell us the names of these angles. So 1 and 5. So looking at angle 1 and angle 5. So this angle and this angle. What are those two angles? They're, come on, say that again. Adjacent? No, so adjacent means next to. On this one, so there are angles that are in the same position. So that's with a C. Okay, so they are congruent. They are going to have equal measure if those lines are parallel. However, we don't know if those lines are parallel yet. So there's another C word that means in the same position. Now that means it adds up to 90. So these would be corresponding. They're in a corresponding position. So they're corresponding angles, angles that are in the same position. Correct. 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. Those would be examples of corresponding angles there. All right, so now we have 2 and 7. So now 2 and 7, let me change the color here. This is 2 over here, and this is 7. They're on all right, let's try that again. So 2 and 7, they're on opposite sides of the transversal line that's cutting the other two, or we could say alternate. And then they're on the outside of the two parallel lines, also known as exterior. So these are alternate exterior angles. Alternate, I'm going to abbreviate, but alternate exterior angles. Yeah, a lot of times that's abbreviation that I use a lot as well. And a lot of books will use that, AEA, but alternate exterior angles. So then the next one, 3 and 6. So 3 and 6, alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles. And again, that one is usually abbreviated as AIA. Then we have 3 and 5. Now, 3 and 5, there's actually two different names that we can use there. So for 3 and 5, same side interior works. Same. The other one that we sometimes use for this is consecutive interior. Oops, the U. Fix that. Consecutive interior angles. All right, so same side interior angles or consecutive interior angles. And then on 5 and 7, we did this one the other day. What are 5 and 7? No. So they are going to be a linear pair. We could go with that. We could go with supplementary. We could go with adjacent. There's a lot of terms that fit this set. So I think the most accurate one is going to be the linear pair. But again, there are other ones that work. Like I said, supplementary works, adjacent works. So there are other ways that we can describe those. And finally, 1 and 4. Yeah. So, 1 and 4. All right. 1 and 4, what type of angles are those? all they are on opposite sides of transversal. I do see that. However, they are not both outside the lines or both inside the line. So it's not going to be one of those. This is actually one from the other day as well. Start with a V. These are vertical angles. Vertical. And one thing that can kind of get confusing with vertical, they don't actually have to be directly above and below each other, like the word vertical implies. They can be across from each other when two lines intersect. So it doesn't matter if they're next to each other or above and below each other. As long as they're across from each other, they're vertical. All right, moving on to the next part. So that's naming them. The next one, when given parallel lines and a transversal, to solve for a measure or value. Now, one of two things is going to be true. You have all the angles in a set. Let me go back to this diagram. All angles in a setup like this, where we have two parallel lines, are either going to be congruent, so be equal to each other, or they'll be supplementary, they equal 180. And that's what the next question is asking. So alternate interior angles are set equal to, and the answer is either going to be each other or 180. So alternate interior angles, are they congruent? So let me go back to our example. If we looked at 3 and 6 or 4 and 5, those would be alternate interior. Those will be congruent angles. So they're going to be equal to each other. Or we could say themselves. It's kind of a weird way of phrasing it. I'm curious to know how they phrased it. This is geometry. Yeah, they said each other. All right. So then on B, alternate exterior angles are set equal to, and again, that's also going to be each other. Consecutive interior angles are set equal to 180. Corresponding angles are set equal to each other. The linear pair angles are set equal to, again, linear, it's going to be a straight line, so it's going to be 180. And then vertical angles are set equal to each other. So if I was to draw a set of parallel lines here, again, every single acute angle that we have is going to be congruent, and then every single obtuse angle is going to be congruent. Any combination of an acute and obtuse will be supplementary. All right. One more. If lines P and Q are parallel, find the measures of the following angles. So on here, we have all of the obtuse angles, all have to be the same measure. They're all congruent. So 3, 2, 7 are all congruent to the angle that we were already given of 116. So it wants to know the measure of each one of these angles, which is kind of weird because they didn't actually write it correctly. Measure of these angles are equal to, should say. But anyway, so all the acute angles, since they're parallel, are going to be congruent. All the obtuse angles are congruent. So 2, 3, 7, all going to be 116. So 2 is 116, 3 is 116, and 7 is 116. So the rest of them would then have to be supplementary to that value. So 180 minus 116 leaves us with 68. So then all of these acute angles are all going to be 68. Yeah, so again, if you have parallel lines, every single angle in the diagram will either be congruent to an angle that's given or supplementary to an angle that's given. So all the acute angles are the same, all the obtuse angles are the same. All right, so that was it for this one. I'll pass out the little paper that I printed off that does some more review. Again, I already posted a spot online for it, and then I'll post the video for this as soon as I can. All right. Yeah, each time I'm